Welcome to Mitchell Levy Presents, where I dive into the essential elements of clarity and credibility. Hosted by global credibility expert Mitchell Levy, today's episode offers invaluable insights to make you think and act more credibly. Join us as we explore living your values, boosting your credibility, and leading purposefully. Hi, Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and I am so excited to be here. Not only one of my favorite times of the week, but also one of my favorite humans I've ever run across. BZ, what a pleasure and honor to have you with us. BZ Zinga, Bob Zinger, and BZ, who are you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me back. It's really a great honor and privilege to be here. Dr. Mitchell Levy. So this is the first time I'm calling you doctor on the live podcast. So should be happy about that.
Happy to accept. By the way, you notice I don't introduce myself as Dr. Mitchell. I just
Yeah, but you are.
it's still me, right?
You do not need to because your work speaks for itself. No, that's what I love about you. I think it's weaker people who always have to say, "Hey, I am so and so. I have this degree." Nobody cares, right? You are you. But so to your question, who am I? Okay, I think last time I was here, I'll have to listen to it again. It's going to be very similar because I feel like I found myself when I was a teenager, about 12, 13 years old. So I think first and foremost, the way I think about myself, I am a child of God. That has really serious meaning to me, right? I come from the Christian faith. I believe all men are created in the image and likeness of God. That's why I don't really understand this racism and all of this conflict we have with one another. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. As you know, we just celebrated Juneteenth and we're about to celebrate on July 4th year in our country, America. And on July 4th, 1776, there was, I think they said almost 2 million African in this country that were not considered human beings at all. They were considered property, which is just wrong. And America has really never apologized for it. At least our government hasn't. That was criminal, that was unethical, that was grotesque, and there is absolutely no justification for it, period, point blank. But anyway, back to me, yes, I am a child of God. And that identity really anchors everything else in my life, right? It reminds me that my worth is not determined by my title. Yeah, I am a commander in the most powerful navy in the world today. But like my mentor taught me, right? Rank is rented, but trust is earned. Whatever title, whatever accolades you have today, eventually you will no longer have them. No, you're gonna get another job, you're gonna retire, you're gonna get fired, or whatever the case might be. You are in a position of leadership for a moment, for a short moment, actually, when you think about your entire life or eternity. But anyway, so my worth is not my title, not my rank, not my paycheck. This is the other thing too. You just live long enough. When I came to the US, I was 17 years old. I had absolutely nothing, right? No money, nobody knew me. And then, after 20 plus years, I started accumulating a little bit of wealth, and that was kind of like my way to success. Which I think most people, when they're young in their 20s, they want to make money, they want to have a car, a house, and so forth, take care of their bills, which is absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I think after a while, though, once all of your basic needs are met, money doesn't really mean anything anymore. Right? When you are poor, when you don't have anything, yeah, it means everything to you. But once you pass a certain level, I guess when you think about what was his name, uh, Maslow's, right? You learn uh, in psychology. Once all of your basic needs are met, it doesn't mean anything anymore because you already have a pretty big house. Okay, you're gonna buy another house. How many houses can you live in at the same time? Only one. Right? How many cars can you drive at the same time? Only one. Right. So after a while, it has absolutely no meaning. So that's why for me, about 5 years ago, is when I started thinking really going from success to now significance, right? It's not about me anymore, but it's about me helping the next generation actually achieve their dream. And then the other thing too about getting your worth from your paycheck or your material wealth, once you die, you're not going to take it with you. But also, whatever wealth you have now, you can easily lose it. You can have it today and tomorrow you can lose absolutely everything. So who are you then, right? So it's really not about your accomplishment or even your failure. right? I think it really gives me purpose, direction, and hope, especially during a difficult season, to know that I am a child of God. That's really really powerful. I think central in everything I do. And I also see myself as a husband. I am Dimitri's husband and the father. I am the father of Naomi and Zoe. That's really who I am to my core. My wife, Dimitri, and I have been married since 2001. So it's going to be 25 years next month, actually, July 7th. And I really owe a lot to her, who I am today, whatever I've been able to accomplish. Without her, my life would be quite terrible, right? And then we are raising our daughter, one of them already out of the house, and the second one just graduated high school. We are so proud, and she is going to college, whether she likes it or not. So in the fall, she is going to San Francisco University, and we are so proud of that. But really, I think my greatest leadership responsibility has really been my children. Even the reason why I joined the Navy more than 21 years ago was because of them, right? At the time, I was an immigrant. I didn't even have a green card, so I was not a permanent resident. But after 9/11, my wife, a US citizen, and we had a baby on the way who would be a US citizen too. And I was like, I have to do something about this. So I talked to all of the branches of the military, and I narrowed it down to either the Navy or the Air Force because I felt like the Army and the Marines just weren't for me. But anyway, God bless them because somebody needs to do what they do. But I felt like I could use my skill and my brain power more toward the Air Force or the Navy, and I guess the Space Force now, which is brand new. But anyway, I guess what I am saying is long after people forget what job I had or what rank I wore, I hope my family remembers that I loved them, served them, and really was present for them. Uh, my definition of success has changed quite a bit from the time I was 17 to now. I am in my mid 40s now. It's very much aligned with what my primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, has taught me about success. To him, success is when the people closest to you love you and respect you the most. If my wife can still see me right in my eye, no matter who I am, what I've done, or what I've accomplished, and say, Bob Fabien Zinga, I love the kind of person you are. That's really all I need. That gives me all of the success I would have ever hoped for. And then, lastly, I can also say, more and more now, I really see myself as a servant leader, right? Whether serving as a U.S. Navy information warfare commander, a cybersecurity executive in Silicon Valley, right? A professor, a coach, a speaker, a podcast host. No, my mission is really the same: to help people discover their potential and develop into resilient, impactful leaders, right? I believe that leadership is service. I believe people matter. I believe we have a responsibility to leave our communities better than we found them. That goes back to what you preach all the time, right? The COP. And last time we talked about it, but I think my COP one short sentence that kind of described, I think everything I am is leaders transforming potential into resilient success, whether it's in the military, in high tech, or in your family, or your work, or your business. That's really what I am all about. Leaders transforming potential into resilient success.
So, dude, it was almost like I asked one question, I sit there for a half hour smiling, and then we're done. So, good job.
Yeah.
I decided not to interrupt you. You were on a roll. The I'm glad you brought your family in there. So when I was listening to you, the I do love your C pop. It's pretty powerful. But what really got me, what I was very interested in, is the quote that you mentioned that you got from one of your mentors.
Hmm.
Rank is rented, trust is earned.
Yes.
I Tell me what does that mean for you as a parent?
Huh. That is, well, I will always be the father of my kids, and they will always be my baby. I don't care if they're 60 or 100 years old. These are my babies. So I will always be dad first and foremost. But it is true that you do have to earn the trust of your people, your tribe, the people you really care the most about, including your children. They need to be able to look up to you and say, I love my dad, I trust my dad. I think that is so important because one thing that sometimes happens, especially in high stakes jobs like in the military where we get deployed a lot and we spend a lot of time away from home, what ends up happening a lot of time, no, thank God, no, I've always been around when we were pregnant and my kids were born. But I know, personally know, a lot of people in the Navy that just couldn't be in the delivery room because they were deployed serving their country. No, there is no telling how many countless birthdays, special occasion, holidays, and recitals that I have missed because I was serving my country. I just couldn't be here. So I am doing all of this work for my kids, for my family, but then because of my job, I am not around. No, there is even this, it's almost like a joke in the Navy, but it's kind of sad, but many people end up divorcing their spouses when they go into service because they just spend too much time far away from one another. It becomes really really challenging. No? We kind of joke sometimes. No, when you go to boot camp, the Navy issues you everything, right? From what you wear, your shoes, I mean, absolutely everything. So we're like, okay, the Navy may as well issue me a new spouse too. But I mean, that is not right. But I guess what I'm saying is at the end of your career, okay, you've had all of those accolades. Like me, I went from seaman recruit, the lowest rank in the military, E1, to now being an O5, a senior officer in the most powerful navy in the world. That was my dream when I joined 21 years ago. I have achieved it now. So what? Right? So you've done all of that, and then you retire, and then you have no home to go to. Your kids, they hate you. Your wife, your husband, they don't know you anymore. So what was all of that for? No? In the Bible it says, why would you gain the entire world and then at the end lose your soul? What is the point? So I think your family is definitely the most important thing. So when you say rank is rented but trust is earned, so yeah, I think my rank, my position toward my children, I will always be their father, and they will always be a priority for me, no matter what. Priority above the Navy, priority above my work, priority above everything else. My kids know if they call my number, doesn't matter which meeting I am in, they really need to talk to me. They will always be number one, period. And I will never apologize for that. So that part of the equation will never change. But now on the trust being earned, that is where I think as a parent, I feel like it's really a leadership lab becoming a father. That changed me. I don't know what your experience was, but I think I went from being a child to becoming a man overnight when my daughter was born. When I knew that
Oh, by the way, I'm gonna interrupt
expecting.
for a second.
Yes,
There is no better management, leadership, training school
yes,
in the planet than having your
yes.
own child.
Absolutely.
Here.
Man, the
Okay.
responsibility is so heavy. I'm like, man, I am responsible for another entire human being. What in the world am I going to do
But but
about this?
but BZ, here's the interesting part. You also need to be the type of servant leader that has the ability to learn. You need to be coachable
Yes.
because
Yes.
there are so few parents that
Mm,
would actually say what you said. Maybe most
mm,
women say it. I don't know, but
yeah.
this is going to be my question: is when was the last time you said, "I want my kids to say I love my dad" or "I love my mom. I
Mhm.
trust my dad," right? To
Yes.
be able to carve their life around that, and
Mm,
that attitude, that's essentially the intent and commitment to do the
yes.
right thing by these now new adults that you're
Yeah.
commissioning into the world, right? So
Yeah, I guess my wife is handling it better than me. My kids growing up and living their own life, but I am getting there. Uh, I think I was glad during the, well, I shouldn't say I was glad, but okay, I was glad for my daughter to be in college, but stay home for the first year because of the pandemic. She had to be homeschooled in college. She was homeschooled most of her life. By the way, K1 through 12. She really wanted to be independent and go to college, be on campus, and all of that, which I wanted for her. But because of the pandemic, she couldn't go to school. She had to study and do everything through the internet. I was glad to see her for another year. So she didn't like it, but I did. She was around, and we loved on her, and she was. We were glad for that. But then, of course, when she became a sophomore, she had to move to LA to go to school, which is fun. So it is. it is a transition. I think I'm still getting used to it. And I need to learn how to let go. So, talking about servant leadership, I have so much more. I need to learn and go to become the kind of leader and I need to be. But the other thing, when you said being coachable, I've really been coached by both of my daughter. They are Gen Zs, right? I am Gen X. When I became a commanding officer in charge of a mission and the people of the Global Network Operations Security Center for the U.S. Navy in Suffolk, Vir- Virginia, right? Network. I, uh, I was quite challenged because about, I would say, two-thirds of my people were enlisted, right? One-third officer. And of those two-thirds, I would say probably 80% or so were all millennial and Gen Z. And those kids are not really cut off of the same cloth as we are, right? When I remember when I went to boot camp, now everything was regimented, obeying orders and stuff. But these kids sometimes they would get triggered and they want to take time out and all. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I don't know how to lead them. So me being the father, I had to go to my daughter and say, Naomi, Zoe, tell me, people from your generation, how can I lead them? How can I encourage them? How can I influence them? And they told me exactly what to do, and I did it, and it worked, right? So that was quite a learning experience. So even though I have mentored and taught and led my kids all of their life, but now they almost becoming like friends and equal in many ways. I can learn so much from them too, right? And that has really been a blessing. So it's really about adding value. Again, from my primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, I've learned, I have great values. I know what my core values are, and they are awesome. And I value people, and I want to add value to people. That could be your children, that could be your direct report, could be your colleagues, but always thinking about how can I add value.
Yeah, it reminds me of the interview technique, of going out to dinner with the person and their spouse,
Mm,
not to see how they eat, although that's not a bad thing, but how do they treat their spouse and how do they treat the staff, right?
hmm.
And it's so interesting, what how many signs come out of who they are as a human.
Yes.
And I would say, just going back specifically to your comment on your kids, like at some point in time, the goal for me, the same sort of thing, the goal, we got to transition from being, for me, the dad to being the friend. One of the things I had done, BZ, early on is that I told my son that there were two of me, right? There's the me that's the dad, and then there's the me that's the friend,
Mm,
right? So if you ever need to pull
yes.
out the friend card and not have dad hear it, let me know.
I like that.
And he did that like two or three times.
Yes.
But but the one time I remember once he did that, he goes, "Dad, I got to tell you something that I'm talking to the friend." So
Mm.
and I'm like, I'm gonna probably have to tell your mom. He goes, "Yeah, that's okay."
Yes, yes.
you know, and but to be able to have that level of conversation
I like that.
is powerful, and I think so. What, in terms of you doing what you're doing, what do you love? Not just what do you like. What do you
Mhm.
love about the role you're in and where you're going for this new season of your life?
Yeah. One thing, really quick, when you talk about children looking at you as a friend, I don't know if that this was part of something that you've experienced too. I think most dads who have daughters, sometimes when a child comes to you, especially when they were a teenager, they want to talk, not for you to solve their problem at all. They don't need someone to solve their problem. They don't need a dad. They just need a friend to just listen. That's all she needs. Listen attentively. Put away your phone, put away your computer, and just be present and just listen. Maybe give her a hug, but that's it. Don't solve any problem. Don't give any advice. Just simply listen. So I've had to learn to do that. My wife, of course, does it a lot better than I do. So you're right. Sometimes they can come to you as a dad, but then sometimes as a friend. And I think as you develop that relationship, your children will want to come back home now as often as they can as they get older and they live their own life. They would be willing to share more about what they are going through. Otherwise, it's just like from a distance, oh, I am okay, fine, bye. But it's like, no, what's really going on with your life? No, how can I add value to you? How can I help? And then you really develop that intimacy with your children where they pretty much share almost no everything they go through. Like, okay, dad and mom may want to know about that. Otherwise, things that could happen. I've seen that with some of my friends where their children now they are grown adult. They even had a pretty serious surgery now. No, potentially they could have died during the surgery or have a lot of serious complication, and the parents had absolutely no idea because they're just not part of the life of their kids. And to me, that is just not right. Right? I always want to be a part of their lives, and I want always want them to feel like they can come to me talk about anything. I will never judge them. I will not condemn them. I will listen. And sometimes there is really nothing much I can do but just pray for them and wish them well. But we've raised them. We've done everything we could up to this point, but now they've pretty much been emancipated. No, they are now part of life. They're trying to become successful and add values to their own community, live their own life. But you really want that relationship to be strong, in my opinion. But anyway, so
I'm tracking. No, 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 no. I'm tracking, and that extends to everything. Thank you for
yeah.
that. The I'm switching to the the concept you have about work.
Mhm,
Um, and my question generically was, what do you love? Not what do you like? What's
mhm.
what pays the bills? What do you love about what you do for work?
Yeah. So I guess over the past or since what 1997 is when I started working full time in tech, and then I kind of really became an expert in cyber security. But what I love about everything I do is really I think it is a couple of things. One, I think 2 days are really never the same, right? I think I was about 15, 16 years old when I decided I would be a student for life. I will always be learning, right? I have a bachelor degree, two master's degree. I almost got a PhD in microbiology. I am ABD. I think I will eventually get a doctorate, whether a DBA or a PhD. But even when I do, they say it's a terminal degree, but no, that's not exactly true. It's not terminal because you are always learning, especially now, right, in the age of artificial intelligence. So I think one thing I really love about emerging tech, cybersecurity, is things are always changing. We've gone through so much change and transformation, and just now in the last 30 years or so that I have been in this field. One big change, for example, is when we went from everything being on premise to the cloud, and then it became mobile, everything to the phone, and then everything to social media. All of those things really have changed the way we have executed on the cybersecurity principle, which stay the same, but the way we uh, employ them and put them into place kind of changes. And now, of course, there is this huge transformation with artificial intelligence, which is absolutely changing everything. So there's never going to be a point where I am like, okay, I've learned everything I have to learn. I'm not going to learn anymore. No, I'm going to keep learning and I'm going to keep growing. So that's one thing I really love about what I do. And then the other thing is really adding value. To me, I really boil it down to really trust. That is really what I do, whatever organization, whether it's in the US Navy now or whatever job I am going to get in Silicon Valley as a tech executive. It is really protecting the trust of the organization, right? It's about the trust of the company and its shareholder, the end client, but also the leadership and the employee. Because when you put the security controls uh, across your enterprise, what you are really looking for is for people to be able to trust that leadership is making the right decision and that leadership really truly care about the personal data or proprietary information of their customer or their partner. They are doing everything they know, everything they should in order to keep it secure, right? Ensure the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability. So in many ways, I am protecting the brand and the trust of the organization in everything I do, regardless of the technology stack or regardless of what the organization actually does. And I think that kind of gives me purpose, right? It excites me to wake up early in the morning, get to work. Sometimes I have to work late, and sometimes on weekend. But I feel like I have a job to do. I have a purpose. I am adding real value. It's not just some. One of the issues I've seen, is especially 10, 15 years ago, is a lot of people in tech, they were doing tech really for tech's sake, right? Uh, just because. And I think that is wrong. When you do technology, it has to be aligned with the critical mission objective of the organization. You do have to add value. You shouldn't just be a cost center. You should really bring a return on investment. Maybe because of you, now you have more customer than you would have, because again, you bring that element of trust, and customers are willing to go to you than to your competitor. Just as an example, whatever you do really truly has to add value, I believe, across the uh, entire enterprise, and that really excites me, and I am quite passionate about that.
PZ, I have to tell you, I've met so many of your peers, computer information security officers, CISOs, and I don't think anyone has ever spoken the way you just did.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't think they. I think most people in that role are more focused on the cool technology stuff. They're focused and they speak about defense.
Hmm.
I don't hear anyone in that role talk about offense. Just
Yes.
use a sports analogy. It's the offense of
Mm.
saying, hey, let's make sure that we represent this trusting organization that our clients and those that interact with us can trust who we are and how we show up. That's just such a
Yes.
unique uh, change of how people speak.
Yes, but I guess in my own experience, a couple of things happened. One main thing, when I moved, at the time I was working for the Defense Language Institute and the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, closely working with the Navy and the Army. In the military, security has always been very important and critical because it's a matter of life and death. But in Silicon Valley, in high tech, yes, many organizations say they value security, but in reality, they absolutely don't. What they want is sales and marketing, sell, 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 sell. And then when they are forced to, if you are going to do business with a Fortune 500 company like Microsoft, Google, or Meta, they're gonna require you to have security in place. So that's when they have to spend money and prop up this security function. But what I saw I think first company I worked for was Pivotal. During the first 60 days I was there, I thought about quitting almost every single day because I felt like they didn't value security at all. What I was doing until I was able to break through, and the way I was able to break through is by really again adding value to the organization. What can security do for you? How can, because back then I still remember what our mission was to really teach the world how to develop soft modern software development is what we did. So I saw my job was to do it, but do it in a safe and secure way. And of course, we were a pre-IPO company back then, and everybody had really huge interest and investment into us turning into a very successful IPO, which we did. But I think security had a very critical, important part to play inside. But anyway, having said all of that, that's also when I decided I needed to get the MBA degree as well, because it's not just about the technology, but it's how you translate technology to the business need, right? And that's really how you add a lot of value to senior management and to the board of director. Otherwise, I feel like as a CISO or a CIO, chief information officer, you are just wasting time. You are spending a lot of time working on the technology that might be useful, but it's not really aligned with where the organization is going. Basically, you are going to get ignored and you're not going to actually have a seat at the table. But what you want is for the key C level executive in your organization to come to you and get your advice before they make an important decision, not after the fact. Right.
I
And the only
agree.
way to do that is to really build that
All right,
trust.
we got
Add
two
value.
last questions, so you got to do quickly. First one,
Okay.
and stick around, guys who are still here. Stick around for the last question because it's always a fun one.
Mhm.
If you're interested, if the audience wants to hear more and interact with you, Bob Fabien Zinga, how is the best way for people to reach out to you?
It would be on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com in Bob Fabien Zinga.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks. So, given this conversation, what is there a different question that you thought I was going to ask you, or is there a question you'd like to ask yourself that you just know needs to get answered given what we talked about?
Yeah, I think starting about 5 years ago, probably one of the most important questions for me now is what do you hope your legacy to be? Um, and I think I'm still working on my answer, but my working answer right now is I don't want to be remembered primarily as a commander, although that has been my dream since I joined the Navy 21 years ago. Been there, achieved it, done that. Really exciting when you are first elected. It takes about a year before you promote to the position, and then to become a commanding officer on top of that. That was huge. But okay, been there, done that. Now what, right? Or being a chief information security officer or even a successful executive. That is really not how I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered as someone who helped other people become leaders. Right? I have spent more than 2 decades now serving in the Navy, nearly 3 decades in technology, and thousands of hours coaching, mentoring, teaching, writing, and podcasting. I think the common thread through all of it is really investing in people. Right. One day I will retire from the Navy. I think that day is coming very, very quickly, probably in the next couple of months. One day I will retire from corporate leadership. I probably will easily find another C-level job, maybe for another 10, 15 years, when I'm going to be forced to retire again. Right. But the leader we develop will continue serving long after we are gone. I think that's really what we need to be thinking about. Not just my own personal success, but really significance. Right? If someone becomes a better leader, a better spouse, a better parent, a better citizen, or a better servant because our paths cross, then I will consider my life a success. So my goal is not simply to leave a legacy, but my goal is to really leave leaders who create legacies of their own. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Nice, nice, perfect answer. Thank you so much. When you, my reinforcement in the book is a leader's legacy is felt in the success of their stakeholders.
The book is Executive Abundance. Everybody needs to have a copy. Absolutely.
And it's exactly right. I mean, it's a great. Thank you for asking that question. It's a great question, and it's a great way to be thinking about who you are and how you show up in the world. Now, BZ, thank you so much for joining me today, and it was so close to the last one, and this is so different than the last interview. So thank you.
Sure.
All right. So listen, you guys, if you're still here, you're still listening, you're still watching, this is now your time to take action. There have been so many nuggets that BZ landed on us. And what I want you to do is spread his cred dust. Click on the like button, share in whatever social media platform, tag BZ. Feel free to tag me. I'll respond. And thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Leaders Living Their Values. Take care, everyone. Bye now. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you found value in today's episode. Like, subscribe, and share your aha moments on your preferred platform. Remember, credibility starts with clarity and living your values. Learn more at mitchelllevy.com. Until next time.